The afternoon sun had just crept over the windowsills of the teaching building. This was originally just an ordinary afternoon. As the boy walked out of the teaching building after class, he saw a blinding white light suddenly split through the clouds. A meteor streaked across the sky. A few seconds later, the meteor landed on Earth. A huge crater split open at the impact site. At the same time, it also brought a naked man. After the meteor fell, an energy shockwave with a wide range came. Along with the meteor, strangely enough, not everyone was affected by the shockwave. Only a few people were involved in this mutation, and this group of affected people fell into a brief state of pseudo-death. When they woke up again, some changes had occurred in their bodies. First, there was Raul, who had been an undercover agent in the border area for many years. He finally got the chance to go home, but he didn't expect that the two people sent to pick him up were actually there to kill him. However, the shockwave came faster than the assassination. Raul fell to the ground in the shockwave, and instantly lost his pulse and heartbeat. The enemies thought it would be easier, but they didn't expect Raul to come back to life. Moreover, after waking up, Raul gained the ability of psychological perception. He could hear other people's inner thoughts. The awakened mind reading became the sharpest weapon. He instantly understood the intentions of the two and killed them. Instead, at the same time, Irene, a single mother, was preparing to drive out of the city with her young daughter, to escape the entanglement of her ex-husband. But at the moment the shockwave hit, the steering wheel lost control and a car accident occurred. Irene, who woke up amidst the smell of blood, looked at her dying daughter in extreme grief. But she didn't expect that the moment she touched her daughter, the wounds on her daughter's body began to heal rapidly. In just a few seconds, she became no different from a healthy person, as if she had never been in a car accident. Seeing that her daughter was safe, Irene quickly picked her up and left, preparing to continue her journey. While passing a convenience store, they were carjacked by the injured Raul. Because he killed two contacts, Raul is now wanted throughout the city. He just needs Irene to take him away, and said that as long as they obey, he will not hurt Irene and her daughter. The two newly awakened metahumans coincidentally gathered together like this. On the other side, Peter, who was bullied a lot at school, became extremely strong under the influence of the shockwave. He even killed a classmate who often bullied him at a party. Peter, who knew he had made a big mistake, decided to leave this place. After all, over the years, he has been moving from one foster family to another, and has nothing to miss here. Under the influence of the shockwave, the priest giving a speech in the auditorium gained the ability to predict the future. He told everyone that the devil had come to the world, but the only thing he didn't predict was that his wife had an affair with his own father. Even the child in her womb wasn't his. Under such double betrayal and blow, the priest also left this place. Also affected by the shockwave was Dr. Vera, an astronomer. When the meteor fell, she had already found something abnormal on the monitor, but before she could react, she fell into a state of pseudo-death due to the shockwave. After waking up, Vera rushed to the meteor's landing site at the first time, according to the location noted on the monitor. But before she could investigate carefully, the military quickly took over the place, and didn't allow anyone to continue the investigation. Helplessly, Vera had to leave. However, before leaving, she secretly took a stone. It was a fragment of the meteor. Taking it back for careful study might reveal something, but as soon as Vera walked into her home, she found that a strange man had broken in. The man said he wouldn't hurt Vera, and could also help Vera find her son who had been missing for many years. But before that, Vera needs to do something for him. Then Vera followed the man to a ward. A woman who had been in a coma for 7 years was lying on the hospital bed. What the man wanted Vera to do was very simple. That is to kill this defenseless woman. After all, she is just a vegetable. Death is the real relief for her. But even a vegetable is not without life. Vera looked at the woman in front of her, and couldn't bring herself to do it after all. The man kept urging and brainwashing her on the side, but at this moment, the woman in the hospital bed suddenly opened her eyes. The moment she saw the man, she recited a spell. The next second, the man disappeared. This mysterious woman is called Rose. Before Vera could react, Rose took Vera out of the ward. At the same time, because Raul's gunshot wound wasn't treated in time, he went into shock due to excessive blood loss. Irene thought this was the best opportunity to get rid of the trouble, but her daughter didn't think Raul was a bad person. She hoped her mother would take Raul to the hospital for treatment. Irene didn't want her daughter to be disappointed in her, so she had to take Raul to the hospital. But just as she was about to leave, the doctor said that the gunshot wound had to be reported to the higher authorities, and that Irene needed to stay temporarily. Raul woke up at this moment. When he saw he was in the hospital, Raul's first thought was to escape, but he accidentally knocked Irene to the ground, and the moment their bodies made contact, Raul's gunshot wound healed miraculously. Seeing that the police had arrived at the triage desk, Raul hurriedly pulled Irene and her daughter to escape. They ran into a church in a blind panic, and in this church, there was also Peter, who was homeless and looking for a place to stay, the priest who came to pray, and Vera, who had just been brought over by Rose. After seeing Rose, the priest recognized at a glance that she was the person he had seen in his fantasies during his pseudo-death, and Rose told everyone that divine punishment was coming. What they saw wasn't a meteor but Satan being cast out of heaven again. Now he has come to the human world, and will use people's fears and worries to bring disaster to the world. God has chosen 7 people as apocalyptic angels, and assigned each a different ability. Everyone has gathered here because of this. Everything is predestined. Since Vera hasn't awakened her ability yet, only she doesn't believe Rose's words. Since someone will soon search the church, everyone had to split up temporarily. Raul wanted to go to his brother for help, but when he got home, he found that his brother had been kidnapped. Only his terrified niece Nadia was left at home. It turned out that Raul's brother was a drug dealer who specialized in selling illegal drugs at a strip club. Looking at the words blood for blood written on the wall at home, Raul knew his brother must have gotten into trouble. Fearing that the enemies would return, he had to take Nadia and leave first. Everyone walked and stopped, and finally met again in a bar. Rose told everyone that to stop the divine punishment, in addition to finding the 7 messengers, they also needed to find the 4 horsemen of the devil. These 4 devil horsemen are war, plague, famine, and death. Although one messenger is still missing, time is running out. They must act as soon as possible to find the 4 horsemen, before the devil breaks the seal. Blind searching is definitely not the way. The priest can provide clues for the search from the visions he has seen. He had a premonition of an imminent nuclear war, and also saw some faces in wine glasses stained with blood. Although Raul is willing to save the earth, saving his family is more important now. His brother's life or death is still unknown, so he can only entrust Nadia to Irene, saying he would rush back immediately after finding his brother. Irene has nowhere to go with her daughter now. Fortunately, Nadia took them back to her father's sealed house. No one will definitely enter here. Vera, on the other hand, learned from her partner Rosen that the military had filled in the crater created when the meteor landed, seemingly intentionally hiding something. However, she has already given that meteor fragment to a planetary geology expert, and they can go to the Geological Bureau to check the results tomorrow. The next morning, Irene was going out, and told Nadia and her daughter Amy to be good at home. But at this moment, she found that the burning newspaper in the fireplace had a report about the Afghan Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister's appearance was the same as the face the priest had seen in his vision. Could the Prime Minister be one of the 4 horsemen? On the other side, while Raul was inquiring about his brother's whereabouts, he met a strange man. The man claimed to be a federal agent, but said he knew where Raul's brother was. The condition for exchanging information was that Raul must tell him the names of all the messengers and their current plans. Raul then realized that the devil had come to him, and Rose had also said that the devil would use people's fears and worries to create chaos. At the same time, Vera and Rosen arrived at the Geological Bureau, and learned from the test report that the meteor fragment does contain an unknown element. Further testing is still needed now, but just as they were about to go back to get the fragment, they found that it had mysteriously disappeared. Vera hurried out to look for it. In the corridor, she spotted a man acting suspiciously. The man seemed to feel Vera's gaze and immediately took off running. Vera chased after him relentlessly. Just as she was about to catch up with him, she was blocked outside by a hatch without access permission, and at this moment, Vera found that she could actually pass through the hatch. In disbelief, she passed through again, and found her physical body lying on the ground. Rosen was anxiously giving her first aid. It turned out that Vera's ability was out-of-body experience. It turned out that everything Rose had said was true. After awakening her ability, Vera returned to the bar. Rose had been waiting here for a long time. In fact, he knew everyone's abilities, but he couldn't say them out loud until they awakened. Such abilities must be explored by themselves. Now that everyone has awakened their abilities, they can formulate a battle plan once Raul comes back. Late at night, Raul returned to the bar, covered in wounds. He told Rose that he had made a deal with the devil, confessing all their information in exchange for clues about his brother. Unfortunately, he still couldn't save his brother in the end, and could only watch his brother get blown up. Rose fully understood Raul's difficulties. Faced with the devil's temptation, it was already quite difficult for Raul to come back. Now the most important thing is that they are finally united as one. Through the priest's prophetic visions, they identified that the Prime Minister might be one of the horsemen. At tomorrow's Energy Summit, both the Prime Minister and the Congressman will attend. They must seize this opportunity to prevent the horsemen from breaking the seal. But at such a critical moment, Peter was arrested by the police. It turned out that not long ago, Peter received a call from his girlfriend. He thought his girlfriend was worried about his situation, but he didn't expect that his girlfriend was helping the police locate his whereabouts. After all, it was a case of manslaughter. Peter had to get into the police car and leave. The plan to break the seal can't proceed. without the participation of the messengers, so they split up into two groups. The others are responsible for checking the situation at the Energy Summit. Rose is in charge of rescuing Peter, but the devil was one step ahead of Rose. He disguised himself as Peter's defense lawyer. During the meeting, he kept pressuring Peter, with his lonely childhood in the crime of manslaughter, so much so that when Rose met Peter, Peter was already in despair. He thought that even if he was a member of the messenger group, he would eventually be abandoned. Soon, Peter got into the car that would extradite him to the maximum security prison. On the car, he was constantly provoked by other prisoners. Peter saw through the rearview mirror that Rose's car had been following him. Finally, he decided to fight for another chance. Peter effortlessly broke free from the handcuffs, got into the car with Rose, and hurried to the summit venue. At the same time, with Raoul's help, the others got the IDs to sneak into the venue. Vera used her out-of-body ability, heard the conversation between the Prime Minister and the Congressman, and learned that the Prime Minister's trip was to sign a peace agreement. So it seems that the Prime Minister will not start a war. How could he be the horseman of war? Vera's judgment was correct. The real horseman is actually the female senator beside the Prime Minister. It was she who made a contract with the devil. She and the Congressman plotted to shoot the Prime Minister at the summit. Picking up the wine glass is the signal to shoot. The messengers who notice something unusual will definitely try to stop all this, although Peter arrived in time and hit the wall hard, causing the sniper to miss. But because the female senator had already picked up the wine glass, representing the shooting signal, so from this moment on, her guilt was already established. The first horseman thus awakened. Once a horseman awakens, even taking his life will be useless. Moreover, because the bullet missed, the female senator took the shot for the Prime Minister, and instead was promoted to Minister of Defense because of this. Furthermore, everyone gradually discovered, although they have superpowers, these abilities are passive, and can't be triggered anytime and anywhere. For example, the priest, he hasn't seen any visions for 3 days. That day happened to be Amy's birthday. According to past traditions, Irene would take her to the library to read, but in the time it took for her to turn around and say a word, Amy was gone. Irene looked out the window, and found that her ex-husband had somehow found their whereabouts. Amy had been forcibly taken into the car by her ex-husband. Fortunately, this time Peter and Nadia came with Irene. Peter stopped the car from moving forward with his bare hands, flying into a rage. Her ex-husband got out of the car and tried to shoot Irene directly, but Nadia had obtained a pistol from Raoul for self-defense earlier. Seeing that her ex-husband was going to attack Irene, she pulled the trigger faster. But this was Amy's father. Amy was in great agony when she saw her father die right in front of her. To prevent Nadia from becoming a murderer, and to spare her daughter from trauma, Irene had to use her ability to bring her ex-husband back to life, and the devil witnessed this entire scene. It turned out that the reason her ex-husband could track down Irene was also because the devil was stirring things up behind the scenes. After some rest and recovery, the priest finally received another vision. He saw a wealthy businessman sitting in front of a computer, plotting something. However, it wasn't easy to get close to this wealthy businessman, as he received death threats every day. So he lived on a very high floor, with many bodyguards stationed there. Ordinary people couldn't get in or out. At this point, Vera's ability came into play. She could sneak into the wealthy businessman's house without anyone noticing. But as mentioned earlier, everyone's ability has its drawbacks. When Vera's soul leaves her body, her physical body still functions, but once the soul departs, the body can't breathe on its own. A human will suffocate and die in at most 6 minutes. In other words, Vera had to find clues within 6 minutes. Vera quickly passed through layers of corridors, and reached the wealthy businessman's room, and on his computer screen, she saw a bunch of electronic cockroaches crawling across it, which eventually converged into a skull logo. With 6 minutes almost up, Vera jumped out of the window, returned to her body, and told everyone what she had seen. Peter found out through an internet search that this logo originated from a hacking group called Lord of Hell. This organization had already robbed 3 banks. At the same time, Rosen contacted Vera, saying he had found information about the truck that stole the meteorite, and that the meteorite must be related to the devil. So Vera and Rosen set off immediately, following the truck into a dense forest. There was a very hidden base in the forest, but it was heavily guarded nearby, so the two couldn't get in. In desperation, Vera had to use her ability again. Unexpectedly, she saw the horseman of war in the base, who was none other than that female defense minister. It was indeed her men who had taken the meteorite. Moreover, all the remnants from the meteorites landing were also stored here. The horsemen of war planned to collect these substances to create new destructive weapons. On the other side, the other messengers finally found the last messenger, Nicole. Nicole had long frequented casinos in Hong Kong, but recently, all the money in her account had been stolen by Lord of Hell. She had come to Houston this time to kill Lord of Hell, and get her property back. Her ability was that she could transform into anyone at will. After some investigation, they discovered a health insurance company. This company had also been attacked by Lord of Hell, but all their compensation funds had been transferred to a non-profit clinic called Haven. A few of them came to this clinic to investigate. The priest found a boy on the photo wall, holding a computer with the logo of the Lord of Hell printed on it. After asking the staff here, they learned the boy's name was Leland. His mother had had leukemia, but the health insurance company had repeatedly rejected her application for a bone marrow transplant. Bearing a grudge against the insurance company, Leland decided to hack into its account and plan to spread a virus, which would cause many people to suffer. After finding out that Leland was the mastermind, Nicole went to his residence alone to avenge herself. She had no intention of saving the world. Staying with Rose and the others was just to use them to find clues. She used her ability to transform into the appearance of Leland's mother, but didn't expect that Leland's mother had long since passed away. Her remains were even kept in Leland's bedroom, covered with cockroaches, so Leland saw through Nicole's disguise at a glance, drugged her and tied her up, questioning her about her true purpose. Fortunately, the other messengers arrived just in time, but to save the poison Nicole, Irene used her ability again. Having healed too many people, Irene suffered a backlash and fell into a coma, so everyone had to take Irene to the hospital first. Vera also returned from the dense forest. Before handing over the meteorite fragment to the Geological Bureau earlier, she had taken a smaller fragment and hung it around her neck. While in the base just now, she noticed that the meteorite would glow red whenever the horsemen of war approached her. At this very moment, the meteorite glowed red again, proving that the horseman of plague was actually nearby. Sure enough, they quickly found Leland. With everyone's joint efforts to dissuade him, Leland decided to turn himself in to the police. Nicole also realized the importance of working together, because Irene saved her this time, and chose to join the messenger team to prevent the end of the world from coming. But they never expected that shortly after Leland turned himself in, he would be bailed out. This must be the devil's doing. And Leland, who had been bailed out, though he didn't release the virus, he killed the boss of the insurance company. His crime was established. The messengers also felt the second seal being broken. Everyone had put in so much effort, but the result was still unsatisfactory. 2 consecutive failures left the messengers feeling somewhat discouraged. Since they couldn't stop it, they might as well cherish the remaining time to do their own things. Irene decided to take Amy and get away from here. The priest's father was reported for domestic violence, so he returned to the church again and became the chief preacher. Raoul had just learned from Nadia's biological mother that he was Nadia's biological father. Back then, his brother's wife had an affair with him. Nadia was conceived at that time, so Raoul decided to fulfill his responsibilities as a father in his remaining time. To ease the relationship between Nadia and her biological mother, Peter, on the other hand, went with Nicole to find his biological parents. The only one still persisting was surprisingly Vera, the original atheist. Vera watched as the priest gradually degenerated, even trying to numb himself with drugs, so she took the priest out to relax. The priest met a strange old woman in the supermarket. The priest was certain that he didn't know this old woman, but the old woman accurately called out his name. It turned out that the old woman was a messenger from the previous generation, with the same ability as the priest. She and other messengers had once stopped the end of the world together, and had gone through many hardships. She hoped that the priest and the others wouldn't give up easily. Only when all messengers join forces can they truly resist the devil. And what everyone didn't expect was that everyone met again in the supermarket. Everyone showed a helpless yet relieved smile, regained their courage and decided to look for the next horseman. From the latest vision the priest had seen, it could be known that the next horseman was most likely a farmer. But this farmer was one of a pair of twins. They had no idea which one was the horseman. Now, everyone was gathered except for Rose. That night, the priest received a call from Rose, saying that Leland had kidnapped him. He now needed the priest to save him. The priest was in a hurry to go out, but the devil appeared at this moment, and persuaded everyone to share information with him. After the deal was successful, he could help Nicole get her money back, help Raoul clear his name, and help Vera find her son. Then the devil told everyone a story. April 6, 2008. That day was very special for everyone present. On this day, Vera's son Michael went missing. Raoul broke his arm on a mission. Rose got engaged. Irene gave birth to Amy. Peter, who had attempted suicide, found a new foster family. In the hospital, the priest was also visiting patients in the hospital. If it weren't for a small mishap, everyone would have met 7 years ago. The small mishap was that the devil had hired someone to kill Rose. Unfortunately, that shot wasn't fatal. He himself was also controlled by God, and couldn't kill arbitrarily in the human world. Moreover, rather than saying he was misleading people, it was better to say that the messengers were too careless, and casually believed Rose. The devil told the messengers, Rose used to be a war nurse. On the battlefield, he often encountered many severely wounded soldiers, begging Rose to end their lives with morphine. At first, Rose was reluctant to do so, but after doing it for the first time, he actually fell in love with the feeling of controlling others' lives and deaths. After the war, Rose was assigned to Houston Hospital to take care of those terminally ill patients, and at this time, Rose would inject drugs into the patients, holding their lives and deaths in his hands. Since the patients were all critically ill or elderly, no one ever suspected Rose. Until this day, Rose met a special patient. This patient was Dr. Hart's wife, and Rose was Dr. Hart's mistress. Dr. Hart's wife had a car accident. This accident made Dr. Hart very distressed. He decided to treat his wife well. This made Rose very dissatisfied, so he resorted to his old trick again, killed Dr. Hart's wife, and took her engagement ring. It was at this moment that Rose's sin was established. It turned out that he was the horseman of death. The devil didn't expect that the horsemen were now out of his control, and even wanted to eliminate the messengers and the devil. When Rose first woke up and saw the devil, the first thing he said was to tell the devil that his days were numbered. But at this moment, the priest was already on his way to find Rose. He found Rose in an abandoned church. After Rose was unbound, the priest wanted to take him away quickly, but Rose asked the priest to first tell him the content of his latest vision. In desperation, the priest had to tell everything. The next second, Rose let go of the priest. The horsemen of plague and war emerged from the darkness. The priest was also killed by Rose. At the same time, Irene, who was taking care of the children at home, also learned that Rose was a horseman. It turned out that the old woman had come to the door not long ago. She told Irene that the reason why everyone's abilities now have drawbacks is because some of them are not horsemen. How could abilities, which are God's gifts, have backlash effects? After learning about everyone's abilities from Irene, the old woman told Irene that there was no such ability as understanding all languages. But when everyone arrived at the church, they only saw the priest's cold body. The devil once again proposed to share information. It was said that as long as they agreed, he could resurrect the old priest once said, to stop the divine punishment, they must gather everyone's strength. They couldn't lose the priest at this moment. Perhaps making a deal with the devil was their only choice. The priest was resurrected by the devil's power, and told everyone about his experience. At that time, seeing how eager Rose was, the priest felt that things were not that simple. So when telling Rose about the vision, what he said was half true and half false, as long as they acted quickly, they could find the horsemen of famine before Rose. Everyone soon embarked on a journey to the farm. The after-effects of Nicole's frequent use of her ability also appeared. She found that she had become very forgetful recently, and couldn't remember many things. While passing a rest stop, Vera accidentally saw a photo of her son. She decided to go find her son with Rosen first, and then join everyone later. But the journey wasn't smooth. Peter, being a wanted criminal, was recognized. Although Raoul quickly dealt with that person, staying in the car any longer would be risky, so Raoul and Irene got out of the car with Peter. The priest and Nicole continued to the farm. The three of them, Raoul, Irene, and Peter, stayed at a farmer's house on the pretext of car trouble. Late at night, Raoul couldn't sleep, and found that the man staying at the farmer's house was secretly putting salt into the water storage tank, and once the water from the storage tank was used to irrigate the farmland, it would definitely cause the crops to die. So early the next morning, Raoul told the farmer about his discovery. To thank them, the farmer lent them a vehicle, so that they could go to the town to search for information. The town's farm was holding a new product launch. The priest and Nicole had already arrived. After everyone gathered, they found that the speakers at the launch were the twin brothers. They had developed an intelligent rainfall device, which could not only irrigate dry farmland but also induce artificial rainfall, and this device would be activated soon. Everyone knew that this rainfall device wasn't simple. Nicole proposed to kill the twins directly. After all, they couldn't tell which one was the horseman of famine, and they had no chance to make mistakes. If the twins didn't die now, more people would die later. Raoul also strongly agreed with Nicole's view, but it would be best if they could avoid harming the innocent, so several of them conducted a careful investigation. The priest found a video posted by a reporter online. In the video footage, the fertile fields behind the reporter had all dried up. He claimed that someone had conducted experiments on these fertile fields, and given the villagers hush money to prevent them from disclosing the news. The situation on Vera's side wasn't optimistic either. Not only did she fail to find her son, but she was instead arrested by military personnel. Fortunately, Vera, with her out-of-body ability, timely called her companions, which allowed everyone to locate Vera's position. So everyone divided the work among themselves. Irene disguised herself as a reporter, and was in charge of interviewing the twin brother. Raoul was responsible for assisting Irene. Peter and Nicole were in charge of rescuing Vera. Through her beautiful appearance, Irene quickly gained the brother's trust, and learned from the brother that this rainfall device had always been promoted by the elder brother, and he himself didn't want to activate it, because once this rainfall device was activated, all the farmland would dry up, and only by planting the special seeds they developed could everyone have crop harvests. In other words, once the rainfall device was activated, all the farms in this area would be monopolized by them. The priest also found photos of the elder brother meeting with Rose online, so he immediately sent a message to Raoul, telling him that the elder brother was the horseman of famine. Vera was timely rescued by Nicole and Peter. Using her ability, Nicole transformed into the horseman of war and brought Vera out. While Raoul was about to kill the elder brother, the younger brother moved first and pulled the trigger. It turned out that the real horseman was the younger brother, who had been preventing the device from being activated. At the moment of killing the elder brother, his seal was lifted. Now, it only takes the 4 horsemen to be together to break the final seal, and the end of the world will come. The messengers seemed to have no room for maneuver, but the priest's vision appeared again. This time, what he saw was the 7th messenger. The 7th messenger was the reporter, who had previously reported on the Fertile Fields case, but because his ability was activated on a plane, which injured the crew, therefore, he is now being held as a terrorist. Several of them quickly found the place where the reporter was detained. Vera used her ability to enter the prison to check the situation. She found that due to mental stress from being detained, the reporter was now unable to think rationally, and had been put in a straitjacket. Moreover, there were a dozen armed police guards around him, making it no easy task to get in. They discussed a battle plan, and decided that Nicole would disguise as an armed policeman, and Raoul would pretend to be a detained drug dealer to sneak in. But Nicole's memory had severely deteriorated, so much so that she couldn't remember what she was doing. She and Raoul had just sneaked in when, while deactivating her ability, she lost all her memory and mistook Raoul for a bad guy. Their argument also attracted the prison guards. Fortunately, they had a backup plan. Peter forcibly broke in and rescued Raoul and Nicole. With Irene's prompt, Nicole also remembered her true identity, and what she needed to do now through the tattoo on her wrist. Finally, they came to the cell where the reporter was detained, and rescued the reporter, who still knew nothing about it. At the moment when the 7 messengers gathered completely, all the rejection reactions on everyone's bodies disappeared. Everyone briefed the reporter on the current situation, and information about the horsemen. The priest also saw a vision again, but in this vision, he saw everyone dead and also saw Vera's son Mike. So far, all of the priest's visions have been confirmed, but even knowing that they might sacrifice themselves on this trip, everyone still decided to fight to the death. After settling their respective families, they headed to the site where the final seal would be broken. Several horsemen had jointly developed the meteor fragments into a world-destroying creation element, and arranged for 7 drones to drop it. Houston is the first city to perish. The messengers had just arrived at the drop control area. When they were caught red-handed by the horsemen, they had long expected that the messengers would come to stop them, so they had been waiting for a long time. Now is the best time to eliminate the messengers in one fell swoop. However, the messengers didn't leave without a backup. They placed a generator in the control tent. As long as they cover the reporter to get close to the control tent, they can prevent them from dropping the creation element. The problem is that there are at least 50 heavily armed guards around, so the priest told everyone, now, they can only act as human shields to escort the reporter closer. It turns out that this is the real reason for everyone's death in the vision. The messengers couldn't help but sigh, that perhaps this is the best way to die. They counted down a few seconds, and then sprinted together towards the control tent. The messengers fell one after another, but failed to stop the generator from starting. The sky instantly turned blood red, but at this moment, a bolt of lightning fell from the sky, tearing a huge hole in the sky. The expected destruction didn't occur. Instead, it began to rain. It turned out that this was God's test for humanity. They were judging whether humanity was still worthy of redemption, and the messengers proved it with their actions. Thus, God saved them as well. The devil had long known that God would watch secretly, and had already hidden. In fact, the devil had once been a messenger, but he had chosen to betray because he couldn't bear such a heavy mission. This rain revived all the messengers, while the horsemen vanished into ashes in the heavy rain. Everything seemed to have settled. Vera's son Michael was finally found. Everyone lived a happy and fulfilling life, but the priest believed their mission wasn't over, for their abilities had not vanished. What's more, the old priest had told him that what needed more vigilance than the devil was the Antichrist, and he found from Amy's usual doodles that she seemed to have the ability to predict the future. Before they found Michael, Michael had already appeared in the family portrait Amy drew, and the Antichrist had the ability to kill archangels. This made Vera's heart skip a beat, for the devil had told Vera that every archangel was named Michael, and she really couldn't remember why she had named her son that way back then. But looking at Michael and Amy playing happily, both the priest and Vera chose not to believe this prophecy. What they didn't know was that the devil had not left the human world, and had already recognized Amy's true identity. The challenges for the messengers had just begun. The American sci-fi suspense drama, The Messengers, was released in 2015. Among the vast sea of doomsday-themed films, The Messengers doesn't excel with grand disaster scenes or intense survival conflicts. It is more like a philosophical poem murmuring over the ruins of civilization. focusing its lens on a seemingly minor yet crucial role. The messenger, through his lonely journey, delves into the period after the doomsday, when social structures collapse and systems of meaning crumble, how the last glimmer in human nature flickers and the value of existence itself. The film constructs a typical post-apocalyptic world, cities reduced to rubble, nature reclaiming the streets, survivors scattered everywhere, struggling to survive. But unlike many similar films, The Messengers doesn't over-dramatize the causes of the doomsday, or the bloody struggles among survivors. It takes doomsday as an established and accepted backdrop. Each character in The Messengers has unique personality traits and a growth trajectory. Vera is an innocent yet strong mother. Because of the battle between God and the devil, she was forced to separate from her son for 7 years, losing the chance to accompany her son through his childhood. For years, she has lived in guilt, constantly searching for Michael's whereabouts, and after finally finding him, she discovers that her son's identity is extraordinary. Irene, having long endured domestic violence from her ex-husband, had to flee with her daughter, yet after facing such intense malice, she still has a kind and warm heart. Even when her ability would backfire on her, she would still use her ability to save her partners and relatives, even if the price was her life. The priest, after enduring betrayal from his father and wife, still chose to save the world. Raoul was framed and wanted throughout the city, yet he still took care of and rescued his loved ones, despite enormous pressure and danger. Peter and Nicole are still immature young people. One once thought of seeking relief through death. The other hung around casinos all day, but after witnessing the warmth of the team, they chose to contribute more to the team. Though the reporter joined the messenger team for a short time, he still fulfilled his mission in the shortest time, and was even willing to sacrifice his life. Perhaps the kindness and resolve of the messenger team are exactly why God chose them to be messengers. Their character development not only drives the plot forward, but also allows the audience to deeper understand their inner worlds and motivations. The Messengers is a unique and thought-provoking post-apocalyptic sci-fi masterpiece. It has abandoned the formulaic storytelling of genre films and turned its gaze to the frail yet resilient glimmers of humanity amid post-apocalyptic ruins. Through the highly symbolic role of messengers and their lonely journeys, the film successfully explores the essence of existence, the search for meaning, and the resilience of the human spirit in extreme circumstances. Its pace is gentle yet impactful. Its desolate visuals carry profound poetry and humanistic care. If you're looking forward to a profound dialogue about human existence and meaning against a doomsday backdrop, then The Messengers walking amid the ruins are definitely worth following. To feel that which persists in being passed on amid despair, the faint yet crucial light of hope.